Welcome and thank you for joining us for our first Live with LifeLink panel discussion for the month of April. To all of our viewers who are watching live on Facebook or on YouTube or will watch a recording of this video, I want to wish you a happy National Donate Life Month. Donate Life Month is a national observance that is focused on encouraging Americans to register as organ, eye, and tissue donors and honoring our donors who have given the precious gifts of life. Before we begin, if you're watching today, I just want to encourage you to light up our chat in blue and green in honor of Donate Life Month. So whether you are watching and you are a living donor, a transplant recipient, a donor family, go ahead and leave us a comment, a blue and green heart to just show your support and to get us started. So today is a very special day as we are celebrating the second annual recognition of Donate Life Living Donor Day. On this day, we honor living organ and tissue donors for saving and healing lives. To anyone watching who is a living donor, I just want to say thank you so much for your selflessness and your generosity and for giving the gift of life. Did you know that in 2021 that there were more than 6,500 people that made the decision to give one of their kidneys or part of their liver to someone waiting for a second chance at life? Others even gave the healing gift of birth tissue. Each year, birth tissue helps restore and improve the lives of thousands of individuals. And much like organ donation, most tissue recovery happens after death. Many of you may be familiar with the various types of tissue and their uses. So for example, corneas can be recovered to restore the gift of sight to those suffering from corneal blindness. Skin can be recovered and used to heal those with significant wounds. Tendons being used in sports-related injuries like those ACL tears. Heart valves can be used to heal leaky or misshapen valves, and bone being the most versatile, being used for whole bone reconstruction or even in dental surgeries. But did you know that there's a type of tissue that can be donated while living? And that's what we're here to explore today, living donation with birth tissue. With us today, we have Sonia Agnes, who is the Donor Development Manager for the LifeLink Tissue Bank. And Sonia will be giving us a close look at understanding birth tissue, its uses, and how one could potentially be a birth tissue donor. Sonia has worked in the field of organ and tissue donation since 2007. For over a decade, she has provided allograft, clinical support, and continuing education for OR team members, surgeons, and nurses across the country. As the Donor Development Manager at LifeLink, she oversees the Tissue Partner Development Program. In her role, her focus is on maintaining necessary supply of donated tissue in order to meet hospitals' increased needs for allograft tissue. Sonia is based out of LifeLink's Tampa headquarters office and earned her bachelor's degree in communications from the University of South Florida. She loves being able to be a part of LifeLink's mission of saving and improving lives. Welcome, Sonia. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, Kristen. Thanks so much for having me.
Of course, of course. So since I heard about birth tissue donation, I feel like it was a couple months ago now, I was just really fascinated by how versatile it is and how many healing properties that it provides. So I'm really glad that we're carving out some time today to focus on birth tissue and also for me to learn alongside a lot of our viewers, because I know this is some information that not even I know. And for so many individuals out there who are watching and considering their options on how they can potentially help someone through living donation, it's really wonderful to know that birth tissue is an option. And while I was doing my research, I found that according to the AATB, and for those of you who are not familiar, that is the American Association of Tissue Banks, the increasing demand for birth tissue has been the single largest driver of overall growth in tissue donors, which is absolutely incredible. But before we get too far, I kind of want to just hit the basics. So would you mind just sharing with us a little bit about what birth tissue is?
Of course. Yes. The term birth tissue refers to the gestational tissue that provides nourishment and protection while a mother is pregnant. And birth tissues consist of the placenta. When we talk about birth tissues, we're talking about the placenta, the amniotic and chorionic membranes, the amniotic fluid, and also the umbilical cord. And once a baby is born, these tissues are typically discarded as medical waste.
Oh, wow. So something that's discarded as medical waste is being used to, so explain that to us. Like, what exactly can birth tissue even be used for, and what are those benefits?
Yeah, so birth tissue allografts can be used by surgeons in a number of different procedures, but the most common clinical applications are for treatment of burn victims or also for advanced wound care procedures. This includes diabetic foot ulcers, which can be extremely difficult to heal. They're typically found on the foot, which is a very non-vascular area to begin with. So it's very hard to heal. And some of these diabetic foot ulcers can take months or even years to finally heal. But recent studies and publications have demonstrated that these placenta-based allografts do promote positive patient outcomes. And so these allografts get patients back on their feet more quickly, get them back to work, and really improve their quality of life.
Wow, that is amazing. So, if somebody who is interested in becoming a birth tissue donor, like, explain to us what the process is for the recovery of birth tissue.
Absolutely. So, when the baby is being born, birth tissues are acquired at the time of birth after a healthy delivery. The next thing that will happen is that the birth tissues are very carefully packaged instead of being thrown away, and they're packaged by a LifeLink birth tissue coordinator at the time. Then they're transported via courier to LifeLink Tissue Bank here, where the birth tissues will be treated and tested in accordance with the FDA and AATB standards, which is the American Association of Tissue Banks, as you mentioned, Kristen. And the last step is they are processed. So here at LifeLink Tissue Bank, it's what we've done for over 35 years. These birth tissues will be transformed into clinical allografts that can be used by surgeons in various cases.
And on that, you said birth tissue has a process that it goes through. Is that a lengthy process that it takes to get the birth tissue ready to be used?
Yeah, well, it is, yes. So it goes through a number of steps of rinses, washes, and proprietary solutions that all ensure patient safety.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, when we talk about birth tissue donation, who exactly is even eligible to donate birth tissue?
So any expectant mother who will be having a cesarean section is the ideal candidate for birth tissue donation.
Is there anything other than having a scheduled C-section that would make someone a good candidate, or are there any other requirements?
That's a great question. So what we would like to say is don't rule yourself out if you are interested in birth tissue donation. If you qualify and are having a cesarean section, you will have a medical consultation with a LifeLink representative as part of the process. And at that time, during your medical consultation, which is over the phone, a LifeLink birth tissue coordinator would determine eligibility.
That's very similar to what we share out in the community when we're just talking about organ and tissue donation. We always say, never rule yourself out. Always, right, leave it to the very end to be able to go through that process and see if you're eligible. So if we have any expectant mothers who are watching right now, is there any information that we can provide them on how they can potentially sign up to become a birth tissue donor?
Absolutely. So the first step is, making your decision. And if you say yes to donation, the first step would be to just let your physician know that it's your wish to donate your birth tissue. And secondly, you just need to register. It's that simple. You can register online, which is probably the easiest way. You can also call us and register over the phone or at your OBGYN office. And the third step, as I mentioned, is a medical consultation with a LifeLink representative, and you'll speak to them this is done over the phone. And the beauty of this is for expectant mothers, it can be done from the comfort of your own home at your convenience. It can be scheduled. So this medical questionnaire is very similar to what you would fill out when you're donating blood. And it's just to ensure patient safety. So those are the 3 steps. If you make your decision, you register online, and you have your medical consultation with LifeLink. And that's it.
I love how simple and easy the process is. Everything is very quick and easily accessible, so that's great to know. And I also wanted to just point out here, now that you're talking about registering to become a birth tissue donor, that it's important that you all know that if you've registered to become an organ and tissue donor, that this is completely separate from that. So whenever we talk about living donation, whether that be living kidney donation or donating a part of your liver, those specific situations are handled through transplant centers. And now that we're talking about birth tissue donation, that has a whole nother section with, a LifeLink birth tissue coordinator that can assist you with that. So it's not in conjunction with organ and tissue donation that happens after death. All right, so now, I feel like this is probably a really big question for maybe any moms out there, or just anyone who's watching. So if somebody donates their birth tissue, is that safe for mom and baby?
Absolutely. The donation process poses no risk at all to mom or baby. Birth tissue is not recovered until after the baby has been safely delivered. So there's absolutely no risk.
All right, that's great to know, because I'm sure that would probably is a question out there. Maybe people are fearful should I sign up if there's any risk, but it sounds like it's perfectly safe. So then my next question would be, how many times could an expectant mother potentially donate their birth tissue? Is it just a one-time thing? If they have multiple pregnancies, can they donate multiple times? Or how does that work?
That's another great question. And the answer is no, there's no limit. So you can donate multiple times if you'd like, as long as you are scheduled for another C-section and you want to donate, you can donate. So there's no limit.
That is amazing to hear. And how many people could potentially be impacted by the donation of birth tissue from just one mother? So I know that when we talk about just tissue in general, we say, one tissue donor can impact 75 or more. Is there similar statistics when it comes to birth tissue and its impact?
Yes. So on average, we at LifeLink can actually recover about 100, on average, 100 different allografts from one donation of one birth tissue donor or one donation. Some non-healing wounds in that application do require multiple applications of an allograft in order to achieve complete healing. So depending on how many times the grafts are used, they can really help between 50 to 75 different patients. So it's truly incredible.
Wow, I wasn't expecting that number. That's really amazing. All right. And lastly, I think the real reason why we wanted to have a birth tissue panel was because we have some exciting news on the LifeLink and on our birth tissue program. So would you be able just to share a little bit about how the LifeLink birth tissue program is going so far?
Absolutely. Very excited to share with you, Kristen. So our program officially kicked off last week on March 28th in partnership with Tampa General Hospital and USF Health OBGYN department. LifeLink and Tampa General have a long-standing relationship in terms of organ and tissue transplantation. We're so grateful to have the opportunity to launch this new partnership with them. This birth tissue program really allows us to expand our offering of recovery services to TGH, and it allows us the opportunity to introduce the option of tissue donation at the beginning of life, because as you mentioned, we're very used to organ and tissue donation conversations occurring at the end of life. And so tissue donation can really be seen in a different light here. And so I'm actually very excited to share with you that today on Living Donor Day, our first little hero is actually being born, possibly as we speak. This afternoon, the first birth tissue donation was scheduled, and he or she is really being born a hero. They are truly the steward of a very precious gift, and it's their first act as they come into this world. So we are very excited about that, and also just to share this information with you and all the viewers out there.
I can't get over how cool that is that on Living Donor Day, we're actually having the very first birth tissue case, which is incredible. We couldn't have planned it better, even though we didn't plan it at all. So that's amazing.
It was meant to be.
It really was. I wanted to open it up to all of you now. If you have any questions for Sonia on birth tissue donation, please leave us a comment. Type in a comment below. We can pull up those questions. We'd love to get them answered. So I'll just give everyone a couple seconds to go ahead and get their questions in if there are any. And thank you so much again for joining us today. Got some comments coming in. Thank you to all of our organ donors. Yes, very exciting things happening.
Yes, indeed.
LifeLink Tampa General and USF. Any questions coming in the chat? All right, so it looks like we have one question from Evie. The question is, can any birth age mom participate? So is it restricted to a certain age limit when it comes to birth tissue?
Yes, it is 18 and up for birth
18
tissue
and up.
donation. Yes.
Great question. All right, we got another question in coming from Ashley. Would a donor mother ever be able to write to a tissue recipient that they have helped?
Yes, actually they would. At LifeLink here, we do have a thanks to you program. So with every allograft, there's a little card which gives the recipient the opportunity to thank the donor for their gift.
That is amazing. And could the mother, or is the birth tissue mother, does she get like a list of potential recipients that she has helped out? Like, could she write to them, or is it just the communication from recipient to donor?
At this time, it is just that communication. So if there was a letter that came in and the mother chose to respond, there may be the opportunity there.
Very cool. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And we've got another question from Dina. Are there ways for the donor parents and / baby to correspond with the recipients? And I think we just got the answer to that one. So like you said, the recipients are able to write messages back to the donor and correspondence can happen that way. So really great question. Thank you. All right. Can the mother make the decision on the day of delivery? That's actually a great question. So if I know birth plans don't always go as mothers are expecting them to. So if they're going in to have a natural birth and they have to have an emergency C-section, could birth tissue donation still be an option?
Yes, the answer is yes. It could be. Logistically, we would have to work out the timing where we would be have the opportunity to speak with that mother and go ahead and complete that medical social review. So, so we could do that if that was the decision being made at the time, and if there was enough time, we certainly could.
And so this is not even in emergent situations, but just even if they had like a scheduled C-section in advance and just that day they made that decision, if there's enough time, it could be a possibility to still be a birth tissue donor. Is that correct?
Correct. Absolutely.
All right, great. Thank you. Great question, Nolan. Thank you. Any others? All right, this is from Brandy. Our 13-year-old daughter was an organ donor in 2015. Love the thank you group we have written to 2 recipients and they have written back. That is amazing, Brandy. Thank you so much for sharing with us. I love hearing things like that.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah.
All right. As an expectant mother of twins, this information has been really helpful. We're so glad that you think so. This is exactly why we wanted to have this live stream today. All right. Any final questions out there? Please just take this time to type them into the comment box. We have Sonia here available to answer any questions. All right. All right, it looks like we have one more question. Can a spouse interfere with this procedure? So I think maybe in the decision-making process, do both parents need to consent prior to moving forward with the birth tissue donation process?
We require the consent from the expected mother only.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So only one consent needed there. I am not seeing any other questions come in, but if there are any that come in later, we'd be happy to answer them. But Sonia, I just really wanted to thank you so much for your time today and for sharing all this really insightful information about birth tissue with us. I feel like I learned a lot, and some of these questions that our audience asked were ones that I was thinking myself. So thank you all for asking those questions. I'm really, really excited that the birth tissue program here at LifeLink has officially launched, that we're having our first donation case today. It's all really great news, so congratulations. Congratulations on the launch of this program. And
Thank you
for
so
any,
much.
yeah, of course. For any of you who are watching online, who are going to watch this video later, I just want to thank you so much for tuning in to our panel discussion today. And as a reminder, if you are interested in registering as an organ, eye, and tissue donor and you're watching from Florida, Georgia, or Puerto Rico, please visit lifelinkfoundation.org. If you click on the yellow tab on the right-hand side that says Say Yes Today, it'll navigate you to your local state registry. But remember that registration does not stop there. So if you have registered or you are new to registering, be sure to make sure that you let your family and friends know about your donation decision. For any of our expectant moms out there who are interested in learning more about the birth tissue program that we have here at LifeLink, please check out our webpage. You can go to lifelinkfoundation.org/birth tissue. Our staff members would be happy to answer any questions that you might have, and we'd be happy to give you any information. So we hope that you will be keeping up with us all month long as we celebrate Donate Life Month. And remember that if you know any living donors today, be sure to thank them, as it is National Living Donor Day. We will see you next time. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.